Michelle at Valley Vet, and today we're going to do our Thanksgiving special on how to stuff your turkey, not your pet. So every year I always see a fair bit of pets that have maybe gotten into something they weren't supposed to during the holiday season. And I'm going to go over with you guys the 3 top things that I find either the most interesting or the most common that I tend to see. The first one is I do have a case where there was a pet that happened to get into yeast rolls. So everyone who makes their own rolls at home knows that they put yeast into the dough and then usually set that on a countertop to rise. This particular dog took it upon himself to go ahead and get into the yeast rolls, and because they hadn't fully risen, they actually started to rise in his stomach, and because of that, he had to have emergency surgery. Now, he did great, but that's just something to always keep in mind. Keep any product that you have, pies, yeast rolls, things of the sort, put them far enough on the counter so that your pet can't get into it. The second one is probably a more common thing that we tend to see and usually causes a pretty upset stomach in most of our patients. And that's feeding them any kind of leftover trimming. Sometimes I hear they're putting any type of fats, bacon grease, whatnot on top of pet food after they're finished cooking. And this does usually one of 2 things. It can either cause a pretty severe gastroenteritis where we're going to see vomiting and diarrhea, or it can cause something called pancreatitis, which is actually a pretty severe condition that we see commonly in certain types of breeds and especially in small breed dogs. And what this does essentially is it goes into the pancreas that normally excretes enzymes that breaks down food in the stomach, gets inflamed from the fatty foods that are taken in from a meal, and then it excretes those enzymes into the abdomen. That then munches on the intestines, the stomach, and the liver. It makes a pet pretty unhappy, pretty painful, and we will see a lot of vomiting associated with that and inappetence. The third thing that I have seen, and I see this every year, and it's probably the most common mistake that I see that people aren't necessarily aware of, is every year I have pets that receive some type of bone after a meal. Now, most people know that turkey bones or chicken bones in general are hollow and they don't offer those to their dogs, but what I do tend to see is sometimes that people will offer the ham bone after a meal. And while the bone isn't necessarily nutritionally bad for them, what happens is this bone breaks down in the stomach and kind of turns into little pieces of you can think of little pieces of glass or sand. And as that goes through the intestines, it binds up in the rectum and causes very severe constipation. It's extremely painful. These animals come in very dehydrated and basically in distress. And through a series of enemas, fluid therapy, we can get them through that, but it's usually about a 3-day ordeal of pretty intense pain and misery for that animal. So those are my top 3 things that I tend to see food-wise associated with the holidays. So remember, stuff that turkey. If you need to feed your pet some snacks, some great ideas are to save some of the canned green beans from that green bean casserole and offer them that, or any type of cooked carrots, and maybe just a tiny piece of that chicken breast would be appropriate for them and not going to cause you any of these issues during the holiday season. So once again, I hope to see you guys around at the clinic. This is Karita. She's been a very good sponsor for today's video. So I hope to see you guys soon and have a great holiday.